I just knew that people made a bunch of money in real estate, and I've always had an attraction to it. I don't know where the initial attraction came from. I used to read Donald Trump books when I was in high school. So maybe it was from that. I don't know. No, I really don't do much to the land. I really just try and showcase it. It's all about guerrilla marketing. Because like someone told me one time, it's not who has the best land, it's he who markets the land the best. And the way I always brought team members on, I looked at them as they're a 3X investment. If I bring you on and I'm paying you $20 an hour, you should bring in the company at least $60 an hour.
Welcome to the Global Investor Podcast, a show that focuses on helping foreign investors enter the lucrative U.S. real estate market. Host Charles Carillo combines decades of real estate investing experience with a professional background in international banking to interview experts in all areas of U.S. real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Charles Carillo.
Welcome to another episode of the Global Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Carillo. Today we have Brent Bowers. He is an investor and coach focusing on buying and selling vacant land. As an Army officer with over 8 years of service, Brent was spending a great deal of time away from his family, and he knew he needed to make some changes to be more present with his wife and children. Brent decided to expand his business and hire a team. While Brent invests in many real estate types, his favorite investment strategy is buying and selling vacant land, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Brent. So it's great. You have a very interesting story. Can you give us a little bit more of your background, both personally and professionally, prior to getting involved in real estate?
Yeah, prior to real estate, boy, I really got started in 2007. I graduated high school in 2004. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to sell stuff. I built a lawn business. I actually borrowed the neighbor's lawn push mower when I was in middle school, and I was mowing other people's grass with it. Now, to their knowledge, they allowed me to do it. And built a pretty decent sized business, and then jumped into real estate in about 2007, and really kind of I struggled until about 2009, and I quit. And then I joined the military, and I was extremely humbled. I was in the military till about 2018. I was haphazardly doing some real estate deals throughout the military, and was wholesaling houses and buying rental properties. And those are all single family homes, but these weren't the best properties. And I was doing a lot of evictions, a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairs. And I was like, how do people ever make money in this business? And, I was searching for answers on podcasts just like this. And I found the guy talking about vacant raw land. And I was like, no one ever talks about this. Yeah. And I took immediate action that evening.
Awesome. So bringing you into real estate in 2007 and then back in, I guess, in 10 years ago or so, over that time that you were in the Army, can you tell us what drew you back to real estate or into real estate both those times?
I just knew that people made a bunch of money in real estate, and I've always had an attraction to it. I don't know where the initial attraction came from. I used to read Donald Trump books when I was in high school. So maybe it was from that. I don't know. Everyone says Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't give him credit whatsoever. Great book, by the way. But, that's not where it came from. But I swear if I had $5 for every time someone said Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that would be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I love, finding one man's trash and turning it into another person's treasure.
No, that's great. Yeah, I think my first real estate book I read was Art of the Deal by Trump, in the late 90s.
You're kidding me. I think that was mine too. I still have the book over here.
Yeah, it's pretty great. He signed another book in 2000 to me or something, because it was pretty great back in the day. But it was such a great book. I mean, you got anybody interested in if you didn't read that and want to get into real estate. So I don't credit Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was down the road more. But I read that and I was like, oh my God, real estate development is this guy's got it all planned out here. But so you were switching from going from homes to land investing. Obviously, you're having issues with. It sounds like you were investing in some poorer properties. Is that one of the main reasons why you switched to land? Was no tenants?
Yeah, and no one else was doing it. I'm from Okeechobee, Florida. The biggest producer of income in the county I grew up in is feeder calves. Cows, and I know about the herd mentality. Eventually the herd will get slaughtered. So one thing I found is like when you follow the direction of everyone, you're usually going down the wrong path. And no one was talking about land. No one. I wasn't even looking at land, and I know why I wasn't looking at it. I was driving by it every day. I always wanted to own land, but I never knew how to pay for land or how it would make me money. And most people don't either. How I'm making money with it is I'm buying it for cheap and selling it for more, and preferably on payments, because that gives me my passive income, the seller financing deals. And, it's just, and it just turned into something great. I was immediately profitable and forever profitable on land deals. My first house that I bought, I was never profitable from 2007 all the way to 2019 when I sold that stinking thing. I still wasn't profitable.
Yeah, it's difficult with smaller, like single family houses. You really have to buy for pennies on the dollar to make money. It's very difficult. And it's very expensive too when you're having the turnover. But so let's jump into your land investing strategy. Like, what type of properties are you targeting? Like, what have you narrowed your focus down to that have been most beneficial for you?
Yeah, 9 out of 10 of my deals lately in the past 2 years have been, we call them infill buildable lots, like, lots that are on a road that have some sort of utilities running to it, whether it be electric and water. And I hate to say just electric and water, because there's a lot of lots that we buy that don't have electric or water, where you have to drill a well, bring in the power. But those generally I have to get for a little bit less money, even bigger discount. Because when I love about land, when I'm not sure about something, when I'm like, okay, I'm not sure exactly what this is going to sell for, that means I have to be even more conservative, getting even bigger discounts, a bigger hedge of protection. So I would say most of my lots are just simple cookie cutter lots. They're in a neighborhood, or they're just on the outskirts of town, like they're 5-acre parcels or the 1-acre parcels. Just super simple stuff. I'm not doing a bunch of entitlements or subdivides or putting in roads. None of that stuff. That's too much work.
So when you're dealing with infill lots, I feel that that's going to be a little bit more competitive at all with developers looking to build on those. I mean, how are you finding good land deals and motivated sellers so that it pencils for you?
Yeah, and I don't think the competitors are I don't think the developers or the builders are my competition. They're my buyers. They're my gravy train. Like, what do builders do? They need stuff to build on, and they build. They don't have the marketing programs that I've been able to build to get me land deals in my inbox, in my email. And I'm what I call is an order taker. Basically, they tell me what they're looking for, and I go and fill the orders. It's like, welcome to McDonald's. What would you like? Type thing. So, as far as those cookie cutter lots, yeah, there might be other people looking to buy those as well, especially in the areas of like Florida, where there's a ton of demand, certain neighborhoods. Yeah, you've got competition in those areas. But the way I look at it is, success leaves clues. There's a reason why people are buying and selling land in those areas too.
Right. What do you do this on a nationwide basis? Are you in certain states?
Yes. I really like to focus in Florida, and Georgia and Alabama and North Carolina, those like the Southeast. I started this in Colorado and then expanded into Arizona and then to Florida, now where I currently live. But I'll buy land anywhere that I can get a smoking hot deal on, because, I love to be in about the 50% range. Like right now I'm looking at a bigger parcel than what I usually buy. I'm looking at 309 acres in Florida. Well, the land is selling for about $16,000 an acre average per acre, and I'm getting it for $8,000 an acre. There is such a room for error in that. Like, there's such a margin of safety, like Warren Buffett talks about. I'm buying it at like 50 cents on the dollar. A lot of things could go wrong with that, but there's so much room for error as well.
So my next question is, how do you determine the value? I mean, how do you determine the value to put an offer in where, it's not in complete left field, where you are going to have somebody that wants to sell to you?
Yeah, when I first started out, I had no clue. I was just like sitting, I was looking at the assessed value and I was offering 10%, or no, 50% of the assessed value, which turned out to be about 10% of the market value. And not all counties work like that. There's over 3,300 counties in the United States. That's why another reason why we virtually have no competition in this business, because every county is different. It's not like cookie cutter houses, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage. But I had no clue in the beginning. But now we have free resources. We have Redfin. We have Zillow. We can see what the land is selling for in a particular neighborhood. And we know if it's selling for $100,000 a lot, and if I offer $61,000 a lot, there's plenty of room for me to make money on that land deal. Maybe I don't have any money. Maybe someone listening to this is like, man, I don't have the money right now to buy the land. Well, what if I got that land under contract for $61,000 and I call one of those builders that's buying directly in the area? You can see who's buying. One of those builders and say, hey, Toll Brothers, I see you're buying land for, $95,000 a lot. What if I sold this one to you for 85? I got it under contract for 61, 71, 81. That's a pretty good spread. That's like $24,000 by me just selling the contract.
Right. Interesting. So with these, you talked about before about having an exit strategy of really putting it on terms and, really seller financing the properties. Are you doing that as well for infill lots, or are you doing that mainly for, let's say, more rural lots?
Yeah, it works really, really well on the rural lots. I'll do it on any one of them I can. Not all of them does it work out that way. Depends. Do I have my own cash into that deal? Is it a lender's cash? How quickly do they want their cash back? It all depends. Like, for instance, I have a land deal really close to Daytona Beach, in the Daytona Beach area. 5 acres, just sold. I bought it for $153,000. I do have a lender on that one. She lent me like $65,000 on it. I had like the rest, $90,000 or so in it. And it sat on the market for like several months. And I'm like, man, I can't believe this land hasn't moved. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, like it was exactly 3 months, we got an offer, $25,000 down. They offered $225,000 total. We paid $153,000. And they wanted to pay $25,000 down and have us finance them at 11% interest for the next 30 years at $2,028 a month. And I said, let's do it. So I contacted my lender. I said, hey, do you want to keep earning interest for the next couple years on your money? Because I'm paying her 12% interest. How can I pay someone 12% interest and I'm only getting 11%? Well, I'm paying her 12% interest on $65,000, which is $600 a month or so. Mm-hmm. And I am getting 11% interest on $200,000 on a 30-year mortgage. So she said, sure, yeah, we can do it for another year. So I got basically a year to pay her that $65,000 back. And some people might be thinking, well, what if I don't get it in a year? We'll just do another land deal and pay for that one. But I'm in the volume game. Like, I don't want land sitting. We just sold 6 lots for cash in really close to Orlando, Florida. They were listed at $55,000 each. We sold them all for $35,000 each. And my realtor's like, are you sure? Like, you want to sell them? I was like, yeah, we're going to make $70,000 profit because we bought them for $130,000. We sold them for $210,000. Like, let's just take the profit and go to the next one.
How did you find those people that want to sell that?
So I have a very unique strategy. It's I go in and I find demand. I want to see demand because I never want to get a piece. So I used to buy that land in the middle of nowhere for years, and I'd have to work like heck to sell it. I would sell it on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, Facebook buy-sell groups. I'd put signs out. This is when I lived in Colorado Springs. I would do like Facebook ads, and I'd pay Facebook a lot of money. Don't pay them money. It didn't work for me. But anyhow, I was working like crazy to get this sold. I had 2 virtual assistants, 2 people answering the phones all day long, creating notes. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. So I started going in areas where it was like hyper demand. Like I see 5 or 6 parcels of land selling in a week in an area. I'm like, okay, what if I figure out what they're selling for? All right, they're selling for about $1,000 a square foot. I'm just making this number up. And I go in and offer $500 a square foot. I know that if one of these people sign this purchase agreement that I just mailed them, I'm going to have a deal. So I use a program. If anybody wants access to the program, just go to thelandsharks.com/CRM. That's in Customer Relationship Manager. But I use a program that sends those out every day for me. I try and send out about 500 a week, 500 letters a week. And on average, every 1,100 that I send out, I get one back signed that's going to make me at least $10,000 before we sell or finance it.
Wow, fantastic. Do you have money sitting in the stock market and you're worried about it? Or worse, you have money sitting at the bank, not keeping up with inflation? My name is Charles Carillo, founder and managing partner of Harborside Partners. And since 2006, I've been investing my money and my family's money into income-producing properties. These are real assets, real properties with real addresses that produce real cash flow. At Harborside Partners, we provide passive investors who love real estate with a turnkey investing solution. If you want to put your money to work in real estate but can't find deals, don't have the time to get funding, and the last thing that productive people want to do is manage real estate. We find the deals, we fund the deals, and we manage the tenants, the termites, and the properties. Partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. Go to investwithharborside.com. If you love real estate, you like the idea of passive income, and believe that income-producing properties will appreciate over time, go to investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. Yeah. And then, so when you're finding these land buyers, you're going through, like you said before, it's easier to find the developers. Are there any other kind of strategies you've used that's successful for finding land buyers that maybe aren't your toll brothers or larger developers?
Oh, yeah. The real estate agents, when they list this land, that opens it up to the world. And in conjunction to that, signs are incredible. Yeah. 4 acres, will finance, phone number, like that's going to get your phone ringing off the hook. I recommend putting them at red lights and stop signs, main intersections, on and off ramps of interstates. That's how we get buyers. Again, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook buy sell groups. Who wants the land more than anybody else? The neighbor usually.
Yeah, that's true.
So we send them neighbor letters. We'll text the neighbors. There's a buyer for every piece of land.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's funny because I live in Florida, and if I'm going across east to west on like 60 or 70 and you're going like in the middle of nowhere, and there's like the signs out there, they're like billboards almost. They're like, be a man, buy land.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
yep, exactly. Yep,
so
Zach's
they're out
name.
there. Oh, that's the guy. So yeah, he's out there selling land. Yeah. So what happens if you told me before about one issue or like one delay you had, I guess, in selling property? I don't know the way to word it. And what happens if you're unable to sell a piece of land? I mean, what other kind of, obviously you probably try to sell it outright. Possibly maybe you put on terms, kind of whatever you can get. What other strategies do you have if property's not selling other than maybe just lowering the price? Yeah,
absolutely. So I've been doing land specifically for 7 years now. There's never been a piece of land that I couldn't sell. And I'll give you a couple ways. Like I'm buying a couple parcels of land by Titusville. So now that I know you're a Florida guy, I'm buying 4 parcels of land, and it almost looks like they're landlocked. And I know if I list them the way they are, they probably will sit for a while. But if you pay a brush clearing guy, like we call mulchers, to just go in and mulch the roads so people can see where the lots are at, as well as do a perimeter line around all 4 of those lots, I should be able to sell them quicker because now I can get drone photos to really showcase what's there. Now, we're not going to cut any trees down, but we're going to kind of, just like mulch, like, because in Florida, like there's so many vines, and like God bless the pioneers of Florida. Like before roads, like I got so scratched up looking at this land, and a lot of times I don't even go look at the land, but I wanted to see where these roads were at. So I was like, I didn't want to get stuck with this land. It seems like a really good deal, but it could not be a good deal. But so they're going to go and clear that. So that's one way. It's just like a little bit of clearing to show people where it's at. Because you want to make it easy. Like not everyone's going to be crazy like me and go get scratched up and walk through a ditch to get to the land. And you don't have to do that to be a land investor. I just like sometimes you need to go look or send somebody, a land specialist, real estate agent, to go look at it. Drone photos, really good. Like video, really good. Pictures, really good. Ways to get land sold that won't move. Seller financing. Seller financing with signs. I had a couple lots in Palm Bay, Florida, just sitting. It's like, what in the world are these things? Like, and I say sitting, like they sat for almost 45 days. Like I want to like 30 days, get her done now, like type thing, get it sold. They're just sitting. So I don't live far from Palm Bay. So I went and looked. I was like, there's houses going up everywhere. a lot of Spanish speaking Latino people that are building these houses. I was like, what if I just look on Google Translate and figure out how to write in Spanish? Land for sale will finance $299 a month. Well, someone saw those signs and found out we had like 6 lots and bought them all for us for cash, like within a week.
There it is. That's fantastic. Yeah. So it sounds like you use a lot of strategies that might also be used in like maybe wholesaling a property, how you're finding some of the buyers. You're doing like hotels almost, like where you're prepping the property a little bit and then providing it a little cleaner product to the end buyer. So there's a lot of, is that true? How you're kind of putting together strategies like that?
Yeah, I generally don't clear the land very often.
Okay.
And I've never cleared a whole parcel of land. Yeah, I know a lot about wholesaling houses. I've flipped probably about 50 houses. No, I really don't do much to the land. I really just try and showcase it. It's all about guerrilla marketing. Because like someone told me one time, it's not who has the best land, it's he who markets the land the best.
True. Very nice. So if you scaled your business and when you were getting more time with you and your family, and I mean, what does your team look like today to be able to send out 500 per week and have all your KPIs where you're making $10,000 plus and every 1,100 envelopes?
Yeah, I've went up and I've went down. Like 2 years ago, we had around 15 team members, the office, and things changed a little bit. Like I wasn't liking the direction of that. I didn't get into the land business to get rich. I really just wanted it to replace my income that I was making in the military and have lifestyle freedom. Well, there's a thing called Parkinson's Law. When you get a bunch of time on your hands, the task will basically expand. It's like, I give you an assignment tonight, you got to write 1,400 pages, or whatever, 14,000 words. You're going to get it done. But if I gave it to you 6 months ago, it's going to turn into a 6-month task. So I was scaling and building and let's get to $100,000 a month in land payments. Well, you don't really need that. And I was turning into daddy daycare. Basically, I was babysitting, taking 1,000 phone calls a day. It felt like I wasn't really taking that many. And my wife's like, man, you're not a happy person. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm always happy. And she's like, no, you're raging lunatic. And we were also flipping houses and building a couple. I'm just like, this is nuts. And so we rented out the office, laid off pretty much everybody. I now have one part-time acquisition manager, one part-time assistant, one part-time accountant, and that's it.
And how are you when you're putting it together? I mean, when you're scaling, I imagine when you're having for us, it's easier when we have passive income. You know what I mean? You have deals. You have income coming in, it's much easier to scale because you have that prediction of recurring revenue. Has that been true for you as well as you've been growing? So you're able to bring team members on and know that you're going to be, you'll have income to cover that. You're not just hiring and firing.
Absolutely. And the way I always brought team members on, I looked at them as they're a 3X investment. If I bring you on and I'm paying you $20 an hour, you should bring in the company at least $60 an hour. Obviously my accountant is paid salary and my assistant's paid salary, but my acquisition manager, he helps me with dispositions as well. Acquisition is the buying, disposition is the selling, but he's paid by performance. If he doesn't go out and kill, he doesn't eat, basically. And it's just, he's a young engineer. He's doing very, very, very well with his current engineering job. I used to also be a firm believer is my acquisition, my dispositions, they only work for my company. That's changed as well. Now my assistant, my accountant, they only work for my company, my 3 companies, but, my acquisition manager, he's just a young engineer and he's got a lot of time on his hands. He's very smart and he wants to make money in real estate as well. And I'm fine with that. We do several deals a month and they're decent deals.
So Brent, what are some common mistakes that you see real estate investors or land investors in particular make over your years?
Land investors, I'll tell you, they do a bunch of land deals, for a couple years, and they do what's called the snowball effect. They come into this with nothing, and then a year later, they got $1 million of their own cash into a couple land deals, and things slow down. And it's like, holy crap, all my money is tied up into these land deals. where I say you do a combination of them. Assign a few, so basically sell your contract, flip a few of them to build your cash up, and seller finance as many as you can, get some payments coming in because that's where the real money's made. And then the fourth one is use other people's money to do it. Use other like surgeons and dentists and, tech guys and engineers that just have $50,000 or $100,000 cash sitting around that want to grow that money. And I pay them anywhere from 8 to 13% on their money. And it allows me to build up cash reserves over here because no one can argue with this. If a company has cash, they are going to be around for a while. But if a company has a lot of debt and no cash, they're not going to be around very long.
So when you started, how did you find land investors? Because I imagine it's much easier now for you to find land investors, private money lenders, let's say, to invest into your deals. How did you do it when you started without much of a track record? Yeah.
You know what? I actually just started working with private lenders about a year ago. I only used to work with hard money lenders. I'll tell you how I find them now is I share what I'm doing. I've become a generous expert. When people ask me like, how do you do these land deals? I say, with people just like you, Charles. What do you mean? Well, I find the land deal. It's usually like 50 cents on the dollar. If it's worth $100,000, I buy it for $50,000. I use my neighbor Bob's money. He's he's an eye doctor. He's an optometrist. He makes 8% on his 50 grand continuously, and it's secured by real estate. Let me know if you ever want to talk about it. And I walk away, and we might talk about it again. We might not. And it's like, I used to be afraid to like borrow other people's money to do land deals. And I just paid my executive assistant is one of my lenders. It's funny. She texted me today. Her parents want to lend on land deals as well, which I'm honored. But Kelly, she's going to make like $6,000 this year in interest on her funds that she's got invested into a deal.
Nice. That's fantastic. So what are some of the main factors that have contributed to your success over the years, Brent?
Man, the main factors is just taking action. Just taking action immediately. Like if I wouldn't have taken action that evening on listening to that podcast about that guy flipping land, I'd probably still be in the military, very unhappy, listening to the 4-hour work week thinking, my God, why doesn't this work for me? Because you got to take action. That's the main thing. Like I have all these books on the bookshelf next to me. Have I read them all? No way. I love to buy books, by the way. But I've taken action on a lot of it. I do try. And, I think that books should be smaller and shorter and bigger font and more pictures so we can just take action. Like that's how the Land Sharks community and the course is set up. It's like baby steps. Every day you get a win.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way of doing it. So you do what you know today to do to, get you closer to your future goal, but you got to do something today. And most people are just like preparing, or the perfectionists, and it's just nothing happens. Yeah,
no, go like what's that Ender's Game? How do you know they're ready? Well, they go when they're ready enough. You're ready enough today. Like God gives you the answers to get through today. Tomorrow's answers will come tomorrow.
So, well, thank you so much, Brent. How can our listeners learn more about you, your coaching, and your land investing business?
Yeah, you can go to thelandsharks.com. I'd love to talk to anybody that wants to talk about land investing, but you got to be serious. Like, don't be beating around the bush. Don't call me or schedule a call unless you're serious and you want to make some money in land right now. I'm on all the social channels, Brent L. Bowers, and yes, the L stands for land. I had my middle name changed.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Brent. It was a pleasure to have you on and learn about your whole land investing strategy and business. And looking forward to connecting with you here in the near future.
God bless, Charles. Thank you.
Hi, guys. It's Charles from the Global Investors Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're interested in getting involved with real estate, but you don't know where to begin, set up a free 30-minute strategy call with me at schedulecharles.com. That's schedulecharles.com. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Global Investor Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to get new weekly episodes. For more resources and to receive our newsletter, please visit globalinvestorpodcast.com. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars LLC exclusively.